Now, as we are talking about web services, that is SOAP and REST. So, SOAP works on the medium HTTP, and the method type supported is post over here. This is for any web service call that you make with SOAP. The method type will always remain as post. Whereas if we talk about REST, the medium again over here is HTTP, but it supports various CRUD operations, right? So CRUD operations or methods like get is there, post is there, delete is there, update is there. This is similar to anything that we do in database. So it will be a CRUD operation, like we are deleting any data, we are inserting records into a table, we are updating the table and doing a lot of manipulations in those records. And same thing is done in the case of web services. So for example, if I talk about a UI, let's say Facebook, and let's suppose there's a login API that checks for the data that we enter in Facebook username and password field. Now, when you click on login button, it validates the data with the database with the help of a web service. And the request type could be a get method. It could be because if when we are retrieving records and we are doing validation with that records, so most of the time when we are retrieving the record, the method use is a get request, right? So it may happen when a new user is created, the method type could be of a post, or while deleting a particular user from that record, the method type could be of delete. So if we specifically talk about REST API, as majorly in the market REST APIs are in use. So if I talk about CRUD operation, CRUD is basically create, read, update, and delete. So for creation, we have a method post. For reading, we have get. For update, we have put, and then for delete we have delete, right? Whereas if we talk about SOAP, we only have post as a method type for all the operations. And at times you may gonna see that even if you are using a REST API, then post is used for updating the records as well, right? So I'm going to show you this type of API once we practically start working on it, right? So 95% of 95% of these post, get, put, and delete are the most frequently used method with the web services. There are others as well, but these are the most frequently used methods. So if you talk about a real-time API document, how RESTful web services looks like, and how do we gonna consume them. Let's say if I take a example of one of the API documentation. I'll talk about Stripe documentation. So I'll go to this particular website. This is a real-time API documentation. So now there are a lot of APIs available in this. You're gonna see something related to customer, right? We can create a customer, we can retrieve a customer, update, delete, right? There are a number of APIs available. If I click on create a customer, you can see this is the API that you're gonna get in a form of a post method over here. So this is a post method, and there is something you can see \v1 \customer. This is basically called as an endpoint, right? So endpoint is basically the combination of your URL. So this complete thing is URL. This is also called as a URI. So URI contains your base URL, the base URI, and the endpoint. So in this example, if I talk about this is your base URI, right? We can call it as a URL or we can call it as a URI. And this is your endpoint. So this is endpoint URI. Right. So in most of the web services, the base URL will gonna remain the same. Like if I talk about retrieving a customer, you can see the base URL is same. The REST endpoint is changing. The base URL remains same. The endpoint is changing, right? Even if I talk about one other website where there are a lot of web services available, it's just a simple application. So these are some of the requests you can do, like get, post, put, patches, one of the thing for updation, but mostly you're gonna see a put for update, right? So like I said, 95% of the time this get, post, put and delete are used. There are other methods as well, so we're gonna look at those things as well. But if I talk about, let's say I was talking about this Stripe API. So the response that is actually received is in a form of a JSON, right? The request is sent with the help of this URI, and the response that we are getting over here is in basically a JSON format. Similarly, if I talk about any particular API over here, so this is the base URL, and let's say if I want to get the record of a single user, so single user, the endpoint will be this. So this will gonna give me the record of the user with the ID 2. So if I paste it over here, you'll see the response will be in a form of a JSON, right? So if you change the endpoint to 3, just a moment, to 3, you'll see that I've not yet pressed enter, but with 2 the record was of Janet, but if I press enter, this will gonna get changed to Emma Wong, right? So this is how, I mean, the responses are being received, although we are doing it manually, but we're gonna do it with the help of a tool called as Postman, and then we'll be validating it with the help of a Rest Assured API, forming up a framework, right? And these responses will be validated with the help of a response code, right? Over here you're not going to see any response code, but there are various response codes available that we're going to discuss while you are getting the data, while you are retrieving the data, right? You are creating the records, updating, right? Doing n number of operations for different operations. You'll see a different response code is being shown, right? So this is a very simple website for web services practicing, right? In case you are getting started with web services, you are very new to the web service, you can make a use of this simple web service that is provided by request response.in, right? But when we are working on a real-time project, we'll be using very complex APIs as well, right? So this is just an example. We're gonna look at so many APIs in this course. We'll be working on some live projects where we'll be designing end-to-end frameworks, generating reports, integrating it with Jenkins, and number of things we're going to do which are practically used in the industry. All right. So that is all in this lecture, and in the next lecture we'll really quick gonna get started with the installation of our tool called as Postman, right? So first we'll be performing manual testing on these APIs, and then we're gonna use the Java API called as Rest Assured API, and we'll be looking at the automation part as well. All right, thank you.